1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi everyone, this is Jewish Talk coming to you live from Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHPC, also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes apps. We can be seen in the studios right now on my Facebook Live page. I am waving to everybody out there, and of course together on the WHPC's Facebook page. So either way, you can catch me. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there, good morning. My name is Rabbi Pearl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And of course, this all depends on when you are listening or watching. So here we are on Sunday. Yes, it is Sunday, but it is a very special Sunday. It is on the eve of Monday. Every Sunday is the eve of Monday. So what am I talking about? Is that what you woke up early to hear that today is the eve of Monday? My friend, today is the eve of Monday, the last day of Hanukkah. Tonight we'll be lighting all 8 candles. Yes, my friends, but I'm here to share with you that the name for the last day of Hanukkah has a special name. It's called Zos, or Zot Hanukkah, which translates into English as this is Hanukkah. This is it, baby. You got the whole 8 candles going, and we're going to discuss the significance of what this day means to all of us and the opportunity we all have. And boy, oh boy, we do need some opportunities to bring up light and holiness into this world. And as if you post a comment or your name, I'll be happy to recognize it. And I'm making a special shout out today for anybody who has their birthday today or this week. And you put it up, and I'm going to say happy birthday to you. And if I get enough gumption and courage, I may even sing happy birthday. But we'll see. First of all, I want to say hello to, good morning to David Lolnick. Thank you so much to Reverend Larry Swenson, also known as Label. Good morning. Renee Jackson, all the way from Florida. Professor Mark Shore. Harvey Kipnis, my best wishes to you. Say our very best to Malka for a complete, speedy recovery. And, of course, Dr. Shore is all the way from Boston. My goodness. Patty Fuchs, good morning to you. Happy Hanukkah, and thank you for all your support recently. And to Stacy Hirsch. Hi, Stacy Hirsch Lambert. My best wishes to you and your whole family. This past week, sadly, we laid to rest Millicent Hirsch of Long Beach and the entire family. We would like to extend our heartfelt best wishes to the entire Lambert family, to all the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. May the Almighty comfort you amongst the other mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And to Jean Mary, thank you so much. My goodness, I can spend the whole time just talking about the dedications over here. Let's get to work over here. So get out your pencil and paper, if you still have one in this world, and write down the word Zos, Z-O-S or Z-O-T. That's the name given to the 8th day of Hanukkah, which begins this evening. I want to say a special welcome to Professor Judge Robert Rosenthal. Thank you so much. Susan Kay, wow. Susan Kay reminded me today is the last Sunday of the year. Okay, I didn't realize that. Unbelievable. And, of course, the Dr. Kildare, also known as Dr. Kilshevsky, in the Witness Protection Program. Thank you so much for joining us. So the final day of Hanukkah is customary called Zos Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. Now the simple reason is for this name is because the Torah reading that is read tomorrow on the final day of Hanukkah contains a certain passage that says Zos Chanukas HaMizbeach, which translates, this is the dedication of the altar. And the word Hanukkah is rooted in the word chinuch, which means dedication. So on the last day, we call it by the name of the reading of the particular day of the last day of Hanukkah. However, the entire 8th day, not just the Torah reading is called, but the entire day, starting tonight, we have this term called This is Hanukkah. And we also understand that this day is Hanukkah. That means the last day of Hanukkah encapsulates all of what Hanukkah is all about. So really, in a sense, tonight and tomorrow brings together everything that we've accomplished, and that's what we're going to be discussing. What is the greatness of this last day of Hanukkah? So first, I want to share the following. The word Zos again, the name given for this day, Zos, this is it, goes back to the fact that on this day, we actually have are lighting all 8 candles. Because during this entire week, we will have actually lit a complete 36 candles. Besides the shamash, the big taller candle, there are 36 plus the 4 makes it the totally of 44 candles in the entire week. Now, the term "this is," v'zois, is also found in reference to the high priest. Now, the high priest in biblical times would enter on the holies of holies on Yom Kippur. So imagine, take that into your image of the high priest entering into this very holy location, and we actually reflect that on Yom Kippur, on the highest prayer service is the Ne'ilah, the end, where he's, in a sense, inside the holies of holies. Every one of us feel inside. And that, in reference to the Kohen Gadol, in reference to him, to this priest, you have the term Zos. With this, he goes into the holies of holies. With this. So our sages tell us that just as the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, would enter the holies of holies, and the term Zos is used in reference to him, so too when we enter into Hanukkah, we are to imagine ourselves going into the holies of holies. There's something very unique about this last day that encapsulates the most holiest side of who we are. And what is that, of course? Because there's a deep relationship between these 2 days, between Yom Kippur, of the high priest, and the last day of Hanukkah. Because just as the high priest would enter into the holies of holies, this would represent entering into the deepest recesses of the person's soul. So too, on this day, we actually access, on the last day of Hanukkah, we access the greatest, the most inner divine potential that we all have. So please have in mind, as we begin our program today, that tonight and tomorrow, the last day of Hanukkah, represents a unique opportunity for all of us to, in a sense, enter into the holies of holies of who we really are. To reconnect to the primal point of our real soul, our innate, our essential holiness that is not impacted by one's behavior or circumstances. So although this possibility exists potentially at all times, anyone can access their innermost. Along comes Hanukkah, especially Zos Hanukkah, on this last day, is an auspicious opportunity for us to enter into the greatest depth of our experience. And that, of course, is let the lights lead us into the inner chambers of our own souls, just like the high priest entered into Yom Kippur and emerged completely renewed. Let me take a look to our wonderful comments. We would like to say that our program reaches out all the way to Vermont, where Golan and Matan are celebrating Hanukkah. Mordechai Siv, all the way from Israel. Wow, from Tzvas, thank you so much. To Mrs. Levana Cohen-Lichter, thank you. Harold Kornfeld from Florida. Oiza Dalim, Oiza Klein, all the way from Williamsburg. And good morning to you, Harold. And we want to say thank you to everybody. So again, let's go into a little more deeper now. Now, like everything in Judaism, there always has to be 2 opinions, right? On the first night of Hanukkah, how many candles did you light? Come on, let's be honest. We lit 1. It's not so simple. We find that there is, in the Talmud, 2 opinions under the name Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. These are the 2 academies of study. And they both differed on how you kindle the Hanukkah lights. Beis Shammai, one school of thought, says that the lights should be lit in a descending order, which would mean on the first night you would light all 8. On the second night you would light 7, and so on until the final night. So tonight, if you follow that opinion, tonight you would only be lighting 1 candle. Beis Hillel, the other academy, maintains that lights are lit in an ascending order. On the first night we lit 1 candle, the second 2 candles, till the final night tonight we'll be lighting all 8s. And of course, as you know, as you can see, the Jewish law favors the Academy of Beis Hillel, and tonight we'll be lighting all 8. What's the significance whether you start with 8 going down or whether you start with 1 going up? The reason for this disagreement is as follows. Beis Shammai are of the opinion that you look at the world, you look at matters in their potential state. So potentially on the first day of Hanukkah, all 8 lights were lit, because potentially there was a possibility, as we indeed know, that you'd light it and it would be there for all 8 days. So for this day, on the first, in potential, all the days of Hanukkah will follow. The other academy holds, don't look at the potential, we look at what exists in the actuality. In Hebrew, is called poel, and there's koyach and poel. The actuality, and poel, which is poel in actuality, or koyach, what's in potential. So the Academy of Hillel holds, you look at the world, you look at the candles in actuality. Therefore, the number of lights are lit in accordance with the actual day of the candle, of Hanukkah. So on the first day, only 1 light is lit. For in actuality, it's but the first day of the festival. And from that day on, an additional light is lit every day. Now, we actually find in our sages many, many references to follow the law, to follow the opinion of Beis Hillel. And therefore, in actuality, what do? We follow that perspective. But what is it about Hanukkah that emphasizes, why do we focus on the superiority of the actual over the potential? We're talking about it a little bit more abstractly, a little more deeper now. Why is it we would follow the actual over the potential? Listen carefully with me, dear friends. The argument as to whether we should lean towards the potential or the actual is in truth a perspective, a dispute regarding Torah and mitzvahs in general. Let me explain. We all know at Mount Sinai, God gave the Torah and its mitzvahs to us. Now, the Torah, with all his mitzvahs and all the things that we have, reflect an aspect of both the giver and the recipient, right? At Mount Sinai, God gave the Torah, but there was the recipient. So there's the giver and the receiver. Therefore, keep that in mind. And everything in life is a giver and the receiver, right? So many of us gave gifts this week, and so many of us received gifts. Now, in our relationship with God, it can be the same way as well. There's the giver and the receiver. Therefore, we find, on the one hand, Torah is not subject to impurity, even if it's studied by someone who is in an impure state. Why? Because it's God's Torah. God is impure. It retains that aspect of divinity. On the other hand, Torah, a Torah master may forego his own Torah honor, for the Torah is considered to be his property. It possesses the aspect of the recipient of our personality. So there's the giver and there's the receiver. As a result, there are 2 ways in which we can look how the Torah itself manifests itself in this world. We can see the Torah and mitzvahs reflecting God's perspective, the giver, or it can reflect our perspective from the framework of a receiver. So Beis Shammai, one school of thought, holds that the Torah primarily reflects a perspective of its giver. What is the Torah? What is all these mitzvahs? Is what God giving us. Therefore, he says that in matters of Torah mitzvahs, we should always be viewed from their potential state, since from the perspective of God, of the giver, all of actuality already exists within the divine potential. Beis Hillel, however, is of the opinion that most importantly, we consider of how the Torah and its mitzvahs affects us, as a person actually exists in this imperfect world, within this world. Therefore, until a matter has been fulfilled in actuality, nothing's been accomplished. It's nothing until you do it. Therefore, we look at the Torah and its mitzvahs as they exist in this world from the perspective of the receiver. Now, if this is regarding all aspects of our perspective of mitzvahs, says Beis Hillel, how much more so in regard to Hanukkah. Why? Because Hanukkah is particularly connected with the recipient, which is ourselves. This is because Hanukkah differs from all the other Torah festivals. All the other festivals are God-given. They're rabbinic. They are biblical laws. But here, Hanukkah is of rabbinical law. That means it came from our perspective. Therefore, Hanukkah, in particular, reflects a perspective of the recipient, the aspect of the actuality rather than the potential. That is why It is only on the final day, which is tonight and tomorrow, when all of the 8 candles are lit, we've actualized and lit it in such a way we say, this is Chanukah, Zois Chanukah. We've accomplished it. We, the recipient, have made, each of us have each day added more light. We've made a difference in this world. Now let's go a little bit deeper. The Talmud tells us that we are to look at in the perspective, this is added in more mystical side, that this holiday of Hanukkah is a conclusion actually of the high holidays. The Talmud tells us that the judgment of fully righteous is decided on Rosh Hashanah. While we all know that the rest of mankind is given till Yom Kippur to merit a good judgment. The Zohar, the mystical source, the Zohar extends the deadline until Hoshana Rabbah, the last day of the holiday of Sukkot, and saying that although the judgment is sealed on Yom Kippur, it's concluded or delivered on Hoshana Rabbah. However, the Hasidic masters explain that we're actually given an opportunity till the final day of Hanukkah to help receive a favorable judgment for the entire year. So there's a direct relationship to the last day of Hanukkah to the last days of Sukkot. And just like the last days of Sukkot reflect Hoshana Rabbah when the delivery can be a favorable one, so too we can actually create a favorable outcome for every single day in the coming year on how we conduct ourselves on the last day of Hanukkah. And just to add the depth to that, what exactly, just like at the end of Yom Kippur, as we said earlier on, the high priest goes into the holies of holies, so too we enter into the last day of Hanukkah with the same holiness. So we are to appreciate the depth of what Hanukkah is all about because of our commitment and our devotion. In a certain sense, it's not over till it's over. Being high on the high holidays, as we often joke, is very easy. Come to Shul, Rosh Hashanah, you get inspired. But the real deal is, how do we conduct ourselves through the winter months and the winter days? So along comes Hanukkah, all the way to the last day, and we've did a great job. We lit the candle every single day, and of course we had a few latkes. We're showing that we're staying with the program all the way to the end, and therefore that's how powerful, how beautiful the last day of Hanukkah is. Of course, in a more historical sense, Hanukkah celebrated the refusal of Jewish people to assimilate into the Greek culture. The Greeks sought to obliterate Jewish observance at that time and have us all adopt all kinds of customs and values. The Maccabees and others refused to submit, and they were really willing to give their lives up to preserve their beliefs. Therefore, Hanukkah represents our willingness to identify in who we are and to refuse to simply blend into what the surrounding world. Therefore, there is you could say, a certain self-sacrifice that bubbles to the surface as we go through the holiday of Hanukkah, coming to Yom Kippur. And not to belabor the point, just as the end of Yom Kippur reflects the depth of who we are, the last day of Hanukkah represents who we are, as we absorb the message of Hanukkah and are proud to identify who we are. How are we doing, everybody? Let me know. Anybody with a birthday coming up, I would like to give you a shout out for the holiday during the last, program here before the last day of Hanukkah. Let's take a look over here. Let's see. Who do we have over here? Good morning to Jeff Rosner. Thank you so much. And of course, Mrs. Lichter reminded us today is also the beginning of the month of Teves. So not only do we wish you happy Hanukkah, we also wish you Chodesh Tov, a very successful month. And what else do we have here? Jonathan Wolf, Professor, thank you so much. And let's continue with this idea, because I'm really enamored by the power that we have on the last day of Hanukkah. What is the power, my friends? Think about this. Look at the negativity we see out there in current times, all the way to yesterday, sadly, in Muncie. People use their power to bring darkness to others. We've spent a whole week where we're emphasizing light. One candle, another candle. We're bringing out into actuality the greatness of what we all have. So the litmus test, my friends, please remember this. The litmus test of a good individual is if they bring light to the world. That's the end of it. There's nothing else to talk about. If you're a person whose life brings importance to others, you have made your life worthwhile. With that in mind, I want to share with you something very beautiful. We're happy to share this with you. From time to time, opportunities come our way, and I want to thank you for that. Tomorrow, at our Chabad house in Mineola, we're going to celebrate a bar mitzvah for a 17-year-old young man, 17 years of age, never had bar mitzvah. He's highly autistic. And his parents are so wanting to have their child called to the Torah, put on the tefillin, and have an opportunity. And with all the limitations that the young man has, he's going to, with God's help, make us all proud. That's how powerful, that's what it's all about, my friends. And that's what we must say to ourselves on the last day of Chanukah. What am I doing that's made someone else's life better? If at the end of the day, nobody's been helped, and all that the person's accomplished is to make negativity, destruction, anti-Semitic acts, being nasty to others, my friends, I ask you, is that a life? Is that what life is all? Is that what God created the world for? So here we have also a very important thing happening in this week, particularly on this Wednesday. On the Wednesday, of course, in America, we call it New Year's Day, January the 1st. And I want to share with you something very important to be aware of. Because an integral part of the holiday of Hanukkah was the Greek-Syrian influence at that time sought primarily not to destroy the Jewish people, but to forget Torah. Now, how does a person make another person forget something? One way is by outlawing it and making it worthless and old-fashioned. Right? Either you outlaw it, you forbid a person to study, or you go out of your way to describe what they're learning as being old-fashioned, doesn't belong to us. And that's indeed what happened in the story of Hanukkah. The Syrian Greeks at that time outlawed the Torah study and preached a more universal culture. Live by science, live by sports, live by idol worship, and tried to create a culture in which the Jewish religion was an outcast. And if you look back at our history, our collective Jewish memory, we can recall many instances in our history where there are certain regimes who attempted to sway the attitude. For example, we know way back in 1242, 24 cartloads of handwritten text of Talmud was burnt. And in Germany, in the first part of the 20th century, this is what has been attempted. Surrounded by a culture that de-emphasizes the value of Torah scholarship, a person may be induced to forget. There's another method to get someone to forget learning their Torah. Simply making it harder to remember will cause people to forget. The Talmud refers to Torah as something like flies. That flies. If one is not actively studying, reviewing, and engaging in learning, Torah flies away, and one is at risk of forgetting. And that's really what was the underlying danger during the holiday of Hanukkah. And the miracle was that they did not success. They were not successful. We did not forget the Torah, as much as it was outlawed and all kinds of other problems. And with that in mind, I want to share with you that it is so exciting that every single day we should spend some time studying Torah. The internet provides us with tremendous resources, but the idea of formal studying, and I want to share with you two parallel study programs that are continuing today, and one that's been highlighted this coming Wednesday. While so many will be having you could say a hangover from what they were doing, watching balls fall down on 42nd Street, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people gathering in stadiums. First, let me tell you, there is a daily study of Maimonides, of Rambam. He was a Talmudist, a philosopher, a doctor, and he lived in the 12th century. And amongst his many works called Yad HaChazaka, a 14-volume compendium of the totality of all Jewish laws, from the Talmud, from the Torah, from the Medrash. And in 1984, the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, instituted a daily study cycle, where in a complete year you complete the entire 14 volumes. So you can do 3 chapters a day, and you complete it in 1 year. For those who cannot do it with 3 chapters a day, you can study 1 chapter a day. If you can't even study 1 chapter, you can learn 1 mitzvah a day. But the point was that one can study that halachic learning from the Rambam on a daily basis. Again, this is all available on Chabad.org. And now I also come to share with you what's happening on this coming Wednesday. This week, the Jewish world will be celebrating the 13th Siyum Daf HaYomi. That means we'll be celebrating the completion of learning 2,711 pages of the Talmud, which is a monumental international accomplishment. Now, Daf Yomi is a system where a participant studies a 2-sided page of the Talmud each day. And it takes actually an entire 7.5 years to study 1 page a day, 2 sides of 1 page, these 2,711 pages of the Talmud. It's a remarkable record of Judaism, includes underlying principles of Jewish beliefs, many anecdotes, wisdom that applies to all generations. And of course, as I mentioned before, the threat of forgetfulness comes from disengagement. So the success of studying of the Rambam, Maimonides every day, the success of Talmud study engages the person. And the people I meet, and I try myself to keep up to date with this, it's amazing. This daily study of the Talmud was introduced in 1923 by Rabbi Meir Shapiro. And he explains that, wherever we travel, if you're studying, wherever you go, whatever shul you're in, whatever country you may be, everybody's studying the same. And that's certainly, what greater unity can there be? And he used an interesting story, Rabbi Shapiro, where the Talmud relates about Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was once on a ship that sank. It was assumed that he and all the passengers had drowned. One day, Rabbi Akiva walks into the study hall very much alive. And the people asked him, "How did you survive?" And he responded, "I held tight to a daf." Now, in Hebrew, the word daf also means a plank of wood until I reached land. And he used this word on the word daf, which means a plank of wood, but also as a word that represents the page of the Talmud, suggesting the same principle. If you hang on to daily study, we can survive all kinds of storms. And therefore, this year, the actual news cycle begins on January the 5th. But on this first day of January, hundreds of thousands of Jewish people are gathering in stadiums in the Brooklyn, at the Barclays Center, and also in the, I think it's called in New Jersey. What's that big, is it Citibank? City Field? Where they're coming together to celebrate the beginning of the 14th cycle of the Daf Yomi. And of course, it's nearly 100 years since it began, reminding us of the importance of staying engaged, to be actively studying, especially in coming out of the holiday of Chanukah. And I must tell you, ever-increasing number of people are taking upon themselves the study of the Rambam every day and the study of the Talmud every day. The most important thing is keep studying, my friends. Keep studying. This is your host, Rabbi Pearl, wishing everybody the best on the Zos Chanukah, taking all the great potential of the last day of Chanukah, make sure that all those 8 candles are lit, recognize the power of the light, and allow it to shine into the coming days and months. Enjoy. And if you haven't given your children Chanukah geld, or your spouses, that now is the time. Stay well. Happy Chanukah.